I just came back from watching The Boys, and what the hell was that? Listen, this was insane. I could not believe my eyes. I There are some mixed reactions about this. It was a crazy ending. There's just so much to talk about here. Was it a good ending? There's really a lot to discuss. A show of this magnitude, the magnitude of Game of Thrones in terms of popularity, and to have it end like that was not good in my opinion. It was unsatisfying. It leaves kind of a bitter taste in your mouth. Where you're like, what did I just watch? What was the point of this? What was the point of the 7 seasons of this? Why? The V1, what was the point of that? What was the point of Homelander becoming like a president? What was the point of that? There's so many things in this show that felt like they were happening just because they were happening. And that's a problem. When you have a show where there's no underlying meaning, it just becomes slop at some point, to be honest. If you don't want any spoilers, you cannot watch from here on out. But here's what basically happens, okay? From the first episode, the very first episode of when I ever watched this show, I thought, wow, this Homelander dude is not such a good guy. He's a pretty bad guy. Wow, he's a villain. I can guess where this is going. They're probably going to debuff him, take away his superpowers, and kill him in a very humiliating way. And wow, I felt bad for the actor, man. it was a very bad performance. Not that the performance was good, it was just embarrassing for him to be put in that scene because you built up that character. It was an artistic endeavor, and to have it end in that way. First of all, like what happens, right? He tries to jump up. He's trying to have his powers, and they're gone. You know, Kimiko, they combined with Frenchie and they took away his powers. So he didn't have those. And then, like I predicted in my last video, Butcher takes a crowbar to the head, and Homelander's like begging him. He's doing all these things that he's gonna do for him. Please, I'll do this for you. I can't say that on video, but it is shocking. It's supposed to be shocking. People are gonna talk about this for like 3 or 4 days, and then it's just gonna age badly. But it's the same problem that you have when a character is like becomes political. They're supposed to be bad or morally ambiguous. Here, Homelander is obviously just like a terrible villain, right? He's just very cruel. So you're supposed to hate him. But then people started making edits of him all around the internet. So you had to give him the worst possible death where he completely disgraces himself. And he's so broken, he's so mind broken that no one will ever make another edit of him ever again. Some people are saying that the show is good because it gave everyone what they deserved. I can agree with that. Everyone pretty much got what they deserved. But it's that whole thing with like the friendship, the good guys, they walk off into the sunset. It was just too unrealistic. You're making a political commentary about evil and politics. And the way that you end it doesn't show any of that realism or any of that political commentary. A guy like Homelander in real life isn't going to get punished, really. I'm not saying that punishment was not good. Absolutely. You need the downfall of a character like this. But I was hoping that it would be something more like he loses his powers and maybe he has to live like a normal dude. Like that would have been interesting. Instead, he loses his powers and gets his skull caved in the next like 5 seconds. That is not interesting. There's no meaning to that. It's all just slop, action, gore, like the rest of most of The Boys has been the last season. Just profanity and violence. That's just what it is. And another thing, you're waiting for this guy to be killed for how many seasons? there's something weird about that. Like there's something that's you're glorifying something there where it's just you're not even glorifying violence at that point. You just want to see him get punished. And fine, in the end there was payback, there was punishment, right? Fair enough. Fair enough. It was well deserved, okay? But at the same time, if I'm able to predict an ending like that from the first episode of a series, and you can see it coming from a mile away, and there are no surprises at all whatsoever, and it doesn't have any turns, then that's not a very good kind of ending, is it? It's a pretty bad finale when your finale is that predictable. Like watching Breaking Bad, you never knew what was going to happen there. You didn't know if Walter was going to go to prison, if he was going to get caught by the feds, if he was going to get killed. You never knew it. You never knew when it was going to happen. You didn't go, oh, he's going to get arrested in this way, and then it happens. The Boys, complete opposite of that. We know with the crowbar, the butcher crowbar or something like that, and then Homelander was going to get his powers taken away from him. That was very easy to see. And so that's the main problem when an ending is so predictable. You have a cat and mouse game between two interesting characters that are fighting each other, and in the end, exactly what you knew was going to happen ends up happening. Now, the good things about the finale are that there's a lot of things happening, but the ending, like the final battle, wasn't that good. You didn't have as many CGI or special effects as you might have thought. It doesn't resolve that much. Like VOT still exists. It's still there. And it's just going to be another cycle of whatever. There's like that whole idea and feeling that that battle is something that continues on forever. So in a sense, it's just the same cycle is going to repeat with something else probably. You know, we don't really know what that is, but it really felt like they were setting up something else, like a spin-off or something else made for profit or whatever. But it was just way too predictable for me. The ending was very easy to spot from a mile away. Kind of satisfying to see it all end after wondering so much what it was going to be like. But then when you find out, it's like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. It was very easy to see it. And I'm not the most creative person, so when I can see an ending that easily and it's exactly what I thought it would be, that's not a good sign. Like, hopefully you would have wanted it to be something more interesting. I'm going to rewrite the ending right now, okay? Homelander loses his powers. He gets thrown in jail or something. You know, you can punish him so much. All of his existence, he was a narcissist who did whatever he wanted. And to have that taken away from him and to see him react to different situations, that would have been far more punishment than him crying like a baby, begging for his life. It was just very cartoonish. And in general, it felt like this series became more and more juvenile as it went along. And that's just what it culminated in. There was no creativity there. The way he just tries to jump and nothing happens, you know, losing his superpowers. Then all the people see it on the big screens and they're like, whoa, this guy's so pathetic. And that's basically just the way that it ends. You know, I couldn't believe the way that it ended. It could have done something way more interesting, but maybe they didn't have screen time or budget for it or something. But I predict that you're going to start seeing a lot of AI edits of this where they make a different kind of ending where it ends differently, and the fans, as always, they're going to make something that's a lot more compelling than what the original creators did. So let me know what you think. That's my prediction. That's what I see happening. That ending was not that good. It wasn't that bad. Certainly it was interesting. It was watchable like most of this, but it felt like you never saw Homelander go on a rampage or something, which is what would have happened realistically. None of that happened. There was just none of that. He just, just loses his superpowers, gets humiliated, like I've been saying for the past videos. And you could see that coming a mile away. So yeah, that was the ending of The Boys. I guess. Let me know what you think in the comments.